I'm Carmen Lana, and I want to talk a little bit about my experience with the term unassisted birth. I'm a mother of two children, a daughter and a son. My daughter was born in the hospital. My son was born unassisted, caught in the hands of his father. The experience with my daughter, it changed me for the better. The experience of carrying her was, I had a sense of pride. I strutted around like a chicken, a rooster. This pride and strutting or whatever. But I didn't enjoy my experience going to the doctor. Even though I found a clinic that was, all female doctors or whatever, it still felt, I had a sense of that it wasn't as special. I was just another number. That I was just going through routine procedures. Nobody really cares about how you feel. All it is just a medical. I felt like whenever I would talk to the doctor, I don't even remember her name, but I felt like it was I was talking to a textbook. And when I had her, my water broke and went to the hospital, and the experience of having her was just amazing. It was beautiful. The only thing I didn't like about it was the place that I was in and the people around me. Strangers around me that I didn't know. Having to be restricted to a bed. Having to be restricted to the fetal monitoring. The nurses caring more about the fetal monitoring than caring more about my comfortability. But it was a learning experience. They induced me because my water broke with pt1. At the time, I didn't know what pt1 was. And I think one of the mistakes I felt I made is I didn't study enough about birth. I studied a lot about breastfeeding. I was just adamant about breastfeeding my daughter. And that was something I really wanted to do. And I talked with, because the only people that I knew that was really breastfeeding at the time, the job I was working at, I worked with a lot of African sisters. And they breastfed their babies, and a lot of times they would breastfeed their babies when they were home, but at work they would leave bottles and stuff. But I wanted to breastfeed 100%. No formula, in which I did succeed. But the experience, I felt that I didn't really, I enjoyed, and I still felt that powerful feeling of this was a special, spiritual, just a powerful emotional thing that I went through. I felt like me and my daughter were connected, even though I had such distractions going around me. And I was so happy to get up out of the hospital. That there was no peace, no rest. And because the pt1 makes your contractions extremely just painful. I think at certain points I blacked out. My labor wasn't that long. It was only about 4.5 hours. But I was in the hospital all day, because my water broke, just sitting there waiting. They wouldn't let you eat, let me eat, couldn't drink nothing, and I was like, oh honey, I can't be up in there not eating or drinking. So, the father of my child, being the good man that he is, I had him sneak me some food and some drink. And I was going to eat and drink. So whenever the nurses weren't in the room, I was still going to eat, because you're going through labor. It sounded like, to me at the time, I was like, labor is work. Why would you go to work for long periods of time, hours and hours and hours, and not eat or drink? And I don't know, I guess they was expecting me to just have a C-section or whatever, because my husband said he overheard them saying, they said something about C-section. My baby wasn't going to be here till about after 7 in the morning. My baby came at 1:12 in the morning. My labor, it wasn't that long, but it was extremely painful. She breastfed right away. She just latched on so perfectly. It's just good. It was just like in her head, it's natural or whatever. I didn't have to teach her to latch on or whatever. But I was just totally amazed. People could even look at me and tell after I had her that something in me changed. It was just, it's a love that you just can't explain. I can't even put into words. But anyway, a few years after that, well, after my daughter, just her changing me, I cut off my last set of locks, and I wore afro for maybe 2 months until I got tired of it, and then I started to freeform this set. just in a whole nother state of consciousness, started researching. She inspired me to research more into birth, which made me better prepared for the birth of my son. My son, I also went to a doctor, but I had moved to another city, and I found a doctor, nice doctor. She was so nice. She was just really cared a lot about how I felt, but I really wanted to have a home birth. I did not want to have another baby in the hospital setting. I didn't want to do that no more. When my experience wasn't super negative, but certain things about it, it didn't feel right for me. So I called a midwife at the beginning of the pregnancy, but the money that I had to pay the midwife, I had to buy a vehicle, so I didn't have the money. I had to do other expenses and stuff. So that money was tied up, not going to a midwife. So I went ahead, was going to my prenatal visits or whatever, and it was positive. And the thing I liked about this doctor, she, especially when it got close to the end, where if I have certain requests, like if I didn't want my cervix checked, and I didn't see no point in having to check it if I'm not in labor. Why are you checking it? And she was cool with that. But at one point she had to be away for a little while, because at the time she was pregnant as well, so she had her baby before I had mine. And I had another doctor step in, and a lady, and I was asking her questions about certain things that I could do in the hospital. Because at the time I'm still kind of debating. I'm thinking maybe if I go into the hospital, maybe we can go in there with all these type of things that we want. And it will let, for instance, like I asked this particular doctor, could I not be attached to fetal monitoring, or this and that, just little stuff. It wasn't nothing too major, but she was like, no, you have to, such and such be doing this, because what if something happens or goes wrong with your baby? You don't want to be responsible for your baby's death. It just, and then telling me, and at the time, one visit, she was saying, I was only about 30 weeks. And she was saying, well, we may have to do a C-section, because if the baby doesn't turn, because the baby, from what I thought, what I felt from my own instinct, I felt he was kind of sideways. And the doctor, she seemed like she kind of felt like he was in the wrong position as well. And she was saying this thing, well, if he doesn't turn, you're going to have to, we'll do C-section to get him out. In my mind, I'm thinking to myself, why is she saying that to me? And the baby, I'm only 30 weeks. I have 10 more weeks to go, and some babies don't even turn until the last minute. So I was like, I didn't even want to hear C-section. Now, and I'm not knocking C-section. Sometimes you might have to do that to be able to save a baby's life or a mother's life or whatever. But I think in most cases, I think C-section rates are just too high. I know I've met people even in my own family that have C-sections just because they're afraid of birth. Not that there's necessarily nothing wrong with them. But that's just something I knew I just knew that wasn't what I was going to do. I just had an instinct. I can't tell you why I know certain things. I just know. I just know that I wasn't going to have C-section. I knew I wasn't going to have, like the lady asked me at the desk, well, we're going to set you up with an anesthesiologist. I think that's how she said. And so, for your epidural. And I said, I was like, I'm not going to need it. And the lady was like, I was like, and I kind of looked at her, I was like, was something wrong? She was like, you sure you don't want to? I said, no, I'm not going to need it. I'm not going to take it every day. I didn't have one with my daughter, so I'm not going to need one with my son. So, and I didn't. But anyway, we did the big oops. When it's time to go to the doctor, I'm at the hospital, we decided to stay home. And because we had to use our money, we didn't have the money to pay a midwife. We didn't have the money to get a pool. I wanted a water birth, so we got us a little kiddie pool at Walmart for about 20 bucks. And we got a water hose, ran it from the kitchen to the bedroom. Had the bedroom all set up. Oh, it was so intimate. And my son's birth, it was just powerful. My daughter's birth was powerful too, but I felt like I had missed out on certain things in it. And but this one, it was just, it wasn't even that long. It's like, I woke up that morning early. We thought he was gonna come at 7 in the morning. It was 7 something in the morning. So I was like, oh, that'd be too cool. This is the year of the dragon, and he may be born in the hour of the dragon. I was like, oh man, we have the dragon baby. But he didn't come that morning. He came that night, and Britton set the pool up that morning though. But after he set the pool up with the water, the contraction stopped around about 11 o'clock. So I was like, we went back to bed. And then later on in the afternoon, we were outside just chilling. And it was probably about like maybe 5:30. Contraction started. And